Hello, we are back with our person class, and we are now going to show you how to create the implementation file that will hold all of the methods for your class. The first thing that we need to do is under Source Files, right-click, Add New Item, and the implementation file is always named the same as the class. So it's going to be a person, and we want a .cpp file. So person.cpp is going to be that project, and I'm going to click Add. And I have a hidden file with that name, so it's not letting me do that. So I'm going to hit cancel and just show you another trick. I could add an existing item because I actually already have this code written, and it is person.cpp, which will have our code in it. But I'm going to show you the easiest way to get that code, and it's also going to give me some error messages probably because I've got some things redefined now. So this is what our person class should look like if we take a look at the person.c++. Or yeah, person.c++. So first of all, when you write your .cpp file, we need to have the #include person.h. You need to include whatever header file that you are accessing or using. So you need to basically include the header file. So remember, the header file is what we might let others see as our contract with them, but we don't want to have them see our individual coding. It's yelling at me because remember I did the naming convention with the underscore first name and underscore employee ID. So this would be a good time to show you how to do a find and replace. So if I do Control F, or if I do edit, I don't know where the find menu is actually on my project menus up here. I just know it as Control F. So I am going to find first name, and I want to replace it with the naming convention using an underscore because that is what is pretty common in C++. So if I hit find, I'm going to do a replace on the first one and then find next. I don't want to replace the name of the getter method, so I'm going to leave that one. So I'm just going to find next. I do want to do a replace on that one, not that one, and then replace the underscore first name. And that one is finished. Now I'm going to do a replacement on employee ID and replace it with underscore employee ID. And do the same. So we are going to do a replace and find. I'm going to skip that one, replace and find, replace and find. And so now all of those names should be changed. The other thing that I have to do, remember, is anytime I'm using string here, I need to tell the computer that the scope for that string is within the namespace standard. So we use the std::. The : remember, is a scope resolution operator. So we use std::. And some of you might already use that in your regular code, so that's nothing new to you. Many of you maybe haven't seen that before. But when you're writing your .cpp file, that's the way that you want it to show up. And then last but not least, this is when you take your code from the person.driver. For example, if I were to actually first create this .cpp file, I would copy all of my methods. So basically I'm copying all of the public portion of my class. I would do a Control-C or copy that over. I would bring it to my .cpp file, and I'm just going to show you how I would actually do this if I hadn't already had it pre-set up. So notice that it looks pretty much the same. I wish I could put them side by side, but I can't. I suppose I could if I had a new file. But the whole thing that I want you, actually what I could do is close these up, and then you can see a comparison between the different methods. So when I first bring that over, if you take a look, the .cpp file that is set up correctly has this additional section of code, person::. And remember that : is what we call a scope resolution operator. And so what that is doing is telling us what scope that variable is accessible in, or what scope we need in order to use that method. So the person method is in the person class. That's its scope. So we are going to, every method is going to have to be prefaced with person.cpp. And I just did a copy and paste somewhere. Incorrectly, but now I think we got it. So I'm going to copy person : and what you would do is you would copy this code over, and then in front of every method you are going to place person : So in front of every single your two constructors, and instead in front of your getter, and it needs to be in front of, if you take a look down here, for example, it's going to be in front of the method name, not in front of the data type. So in front of the method name, you need to put this scope resolution operator. That's what you guys are going to basically do. And that is also true on the deconstructor. So when I do that, then I'm going to have my methods looking the same as what I had in my other class. The other thing that you would have to change, for example, on this one that has a string, is you're going to need to add your standard std. So when you go and copy over your code, you're going to want to add the scope resolution operator before every method, and before every data type of string, you're going to need to add std. And we're getting pretty close to being finished up here. I don't know why it doesn't like the last one here, but part of that might be because I have some duplication going on. This one's another string. So the Visual Studio compiler will kind of let you know that. And last but not least, on person, the tilde on my deconstructor. Oh, that's what happened on this one, is I copied in the scope resolution operator before the tilde, or excuse me, after the tilde, and it needs to be before it. So that's how you guys will copy over your class. So I basically redid everything that I had done just to show you. And so your .cpp class will look like this. We'll turn off our search so we can see what it looks like. See if we have any errors. We have one error potentially over here. Not sure what that is. Let's open this up and see if we can find it. And it might just, oh, we don't need to have the ending parens and semicolon because that's in our person.h. So just to recap, first thing you're going to do is do a #include person.h at the top to include your header file, and then you're going to add the scope resolution operator. Okay, add the scope resolution operator before every method name, and you are going to add std : before the use of any string variables. Okay. That is then going to be your person.cpp file. I am then going to go back to the driver, and because I have now rewritten all of this, I'm going to delete it. All of this information, my class definitions, my entire class is now over here in both my person.h and my person.cpp file. So the last thing that you're going to need to do in your driver in order to get all of this to execute is to include the header file for the class that you're working on. So you need to #include person.h. It should then recognize, I'm going to comment that back out so you can see, it did not recognize the person class here when I did not have #include included. And so now when I uncomment that, it recognizes the person class, and if I execute this code, it should execute and produce our people that we had before. And remember, we had created, and now it says they're build error. So let's go ahead and take a look at that because it could be a very common error that you guys run into. No, I don't want to continue. Don't forget down here at the bottom when you open up your error codes, you have your error list down here. It says person void already has a body. And actually, a couple of you actually had this error message before, and what's happening is this. your deconstructor is basically an empty method. And so the body of that method is this empty curly brace, curly brace. So if I look in my header file, I have the empty curly brace there. So it was thinking that I had already defined my deconstructor. And so that error message should now be taken care of. And we will see if the code runs. Execution of my code was successful, so we can see that it actually ran. Now, another little trick that you could do, just so you can understand just a little bit about the deconstructor here, is that you might be able to add a cout statement in your deconstructor. Let me get this squared away. And do something like deconstructing person. And so when that deconstructor runs them, you are going to be able to see, and also because cout is in that standard template library, I have to do std in front of anything that is included in that. So if we run this again, hopefully we will see that we have our deconstructor being shown. I actually need to pound include IO stream to do cout. I wasn't paying attention.